Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. It is Thursday, Thankful Thursday. You know, I used to do Thankful Thursday where we talked about things we're thankful for. Maybe we should start that again. If you have something that you're thankful for and you want to share that, email me, joeyhudson.com. You can text it to me. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com and get the very best price. Look, it's Father's Day this weekend. It'll be a great time to order your dad something, and Mike Lindell has some great offers for all of you listeners. So go to MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey. Here's what we're going to cover today. The chaos continues both in the streets and in the headlines over the protests in Los Angeles. The Department of Justice says that Gavin Newsom's attempt to block President Trump's National Guard troops is a crass political stunt. President Trump says he's open to reconciling with Elon Musk over his big, beautiful bill feud. We have the latest, plus a South Carolina congressman predicts the two will patch things up. Governors, mayors, and law enforcement officials all around the country are warning against violence ahead of nationwide protests by the group No Kings, which are being held in opposition to the military parade in Washington, D.C. on Saturday to honor the U.S. Army's 250th birthday, in addition to President Trump's birthday. And Representative Ralph Norman joins us in today's show to talk about the one big, beautiful bill, gun control, Elon Musk, and, yes, the chaos in Los Angeles.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, you know, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
In what can only be described as political theater at its most dangerous, California Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to block President Trump from doing what Newsom himself refuses to do, restore law and order in a city that's literally under siege, on fire, burning. After a weekend of violent and anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles, attacks that left federal officers injured, government buildings vandalized, cars burning, President Trump did exactly what any sane leader would do. He invoked his legal authority under Title X to activate the National Guard and defend federal property. The left, their response? Well, they're upset with him. They're furious with him. Naturally. Governor Newsom, who somehow still finds time to criticize law enforcement between fundraisers and press briefings, filed a lawsuit to stop the deployment. Why? Because according to him, things were under control. He's okay. We don't need your help. That's right. In Newsom's reality, bricks flying at federal agents and flags burning in the streets with a bunch of lunatics running around the city waving Mexican flags is under control. Everything's okay. Fortunately, the Department of Justice isn't buying it. In a scathing legal filing submitted ahead of a federal hearing, the Department of Justice made one thing absolutely clear. President Donald Trump had every constitutional and statutory right to act, and he did so responsibly. The DOJ wrote in their filing, in a crass political stunt endangering American lives, the governor of California seeks to use this court to stop the president of the United States from exercising his lawful power. Under the Constitution, the president is the commander-in-chief. He is responsible for ensuring the protection of federal personnel and facilities. Now, it's not theoretical. It's not someone's opinion. The DOJ pointed to real injuries, real destruction, real lawlessness that you can see. All you have to do is turn your TV on. All you have to do is look on Facebook. I mean, the images are being spread all around. Since Friday, mobs opposed to immigration enforcement have battered buildings. They have blocked ICE operations. They've assaulted officers in the streets. LAPD Chief Jim McDonald even admitted the obvious by saying things have gotten out of control. Somebody could easily be killed. Of course they could, if you let these thugs run around loose doing whatever they want. Still, Newsom insists that Trump is the one that's inciting the chaos. Not the rioters, not the agitators, not the people smashing windows and attacking police. According to Newsom, the problem is the president who dared to protect American citizens and uphold the rule of law. The DOJ, of course, doesn't agree. The Los Angeles Police Department and other law enforcement officials have been unable to bring order, the brief said. And so in the absence of real leadership from California's governor, President Trump stepped in. But rather than cooperate and say thank you, we appreciate your help, California's top Democrats are rushing to court. Their argument that the president failed to consult the governor before activating troops. A claim the DOJ dismantled with ease. The statute doesn't require consultation. It simply says the president's order must be conveyed through the governor, and they were, according to the Trump administration. And look, let's be honest here. Gavin Newsom would not have said yes anyway. He would have never accepted help from Donald Trump unless it was a check, a big federal check. He'll take money from the federal government. In fact, he begs and pleads for money, our tax dollars. Now, historically, courts have understood that when public order breaks down, the federal government has a duty to respond. Eisenhower sent troops to enforce civil rights back in the 50s. Nixon used them to break a postal strike. No lawsuits, no drama, just the president stepping in, helping out. But in 2025, protecting federal agents from leftist mobs, I guess, is controversial in California. The DOJ said that California's legal claims are not just weak, they're baseless. If granted, their restraining order would countermand the president's military directives. That kind of interference would be unprecedented and, again, could be dangerous. And yet Newsom's office is doubling down. A spokesperson claimed the president is turning the military into his own personal police force. That's a quote, direct quote. Now think about that. Federal agents are being attacked on American soil. Properties being destroyed. And California's response is to accuse the president of tyranny for defending them. Newsom says Trump is deploying a military dragnet across L.A. What he won't say is that it's only necessary because state and local officials refuse to enforce the law. ICE officers are being vilified not just by radicals on the street, but by the very politicians sworn to protect them. This is the end result of years of sanctuary policies, of Biden's open border rhetoric, soft on crime leadership, riots, chaos, total contempt for federal authority, for any authority for that matter. And now when the White House moves to stop the bleeding, they run to court and scream about constitutional violations. Well, this is not about protecting Californians necessarily. It's about protecting the narrative. The left cannot allow President Trump to be seen doing the job they refuse to do, restoring order and backing the men and women in uniform. So what's happening in Los Angeles? It's a test of political courage. President Trump passed, Gavin Newsom flunked, big time. The court should side with the Constitution and common sense and with the rule of law and reject this reckless, political motivated lawsuit for what it is, a desperate distraction from Democrat failure. But now, Newsom's not by himself here. He's not the only Democrat blaming President Trump for the chaos. While the streets of Los Angeles are smoldering, federal officers are ducking after having flying rocks and Molotov cocktails being thrown at them. That brain trust known as Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you know, the former bartender who's a U.S. congressperson now, She's busy making excuses, too. According to the New York Congresswoman, the chaos in California wasn't caused by violent anarchists or illegal aliens clashing with law enforcement. No, it was all just some misunderstood teens blowing off steam. Seriously? In a baffling post on Blue Sky, if you don't know what Blue Sky is, it's a social media platform where progressives say what they really think when they think no one's watching. Ocasio-Cortez dismissed the violence as, and this is a quote, every teen who throws a rock, and claims Democrats were falling into a Republican trap by even acknowledging the riots. That's not a joke. This is the official position of a sitting member of Congress, to ignore it, that it's a trap. And just don't acknowledge the riots. Is she just completely nuts? Wow. Forget the burned vehicles. Forget the businesses that have been looted. Forget the law enforcement officers who have been sent to the hospital. Or these the Molotov cocktails hurled at federal buildings. To AOC, it's just all a distraction. And, of course, somehow, President Donald Trump's fault. Because in AOC's world, the riots that erupted after ICE raids in a sanctuary city are not the fault of the criminals or the local leaders who, let's be honest here, enables them. They're the fault of the man who tried to stop it, the man who is wanting to deport the illegals to begin with, the man who promised us last year that he's going to close the border and he's going to clean up the mess that Joe Biden and the progressive Democrats have allowed our country to get in just 4 years. And I got a feeling that AOC and Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and that whole progressive woke crowd, they're in for a surprise because Donald Trump's not going to back down. He's going to finish what he started. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. Joining me on our guest line today from South Carolina's 5th Congressional District, Representative Ralph Norman. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, glad to be with you, Joey.
It's always a pleasure, Congressman. Let's start with kind of revisiting where we were a few weeks ago, the last time we talked. You were in the middle of negotiating whether or not you would be supporting President Trump's big, beautiful bill. You had some concerns. Obviously, you eventually voted for that bill. Tell me what changed and how do you feel about what you passed?
First of all, what we did was the three of us held up in the Budget Committee the approval of the budget for really one reason. There were not enough cuts. I mean, I don't know. We've got to realize $37 trillion, not including Social Security, Medicaid, Highway Trust Fund, and all the others. We've got to deal with it. And the only way you deal with it is stop spending. We have a math problem in Washington, D.C. And so we held it up. We worked to make sure that the cuts were real, not deferred later on. And, I never thought I would have to battle for getting able-bodied Americans who choose not to work off the payroll of the federal government. Yeah. I never thought I would have to make the argument that illegals should not get a check from the federal government. So it were things like that we were able to basically get in the bill and ultimately will get codified. We knew the tax cuts were what everybody wanted. The no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, overtime pay and all of that. But the nuts and bolts of what we had to do was cut spending.
Yeah.
We were successful on the IRA, cuts to subsidies, $7,500 for electric cars was ludicrous. So we got that out, and so many other things, wind and solar panels. So that's what we were arguing about, and we were successful in getting it.
Any predictions on what you think the Senate will do over in their chamber?
The word is they will make some minor changes. We were in rules yesterday and also Monday, and took some technical changes that basically had no bearing. They did shift some money around. In reconciliation, you cannot run a deficit. You have to balance spending with cuts. And so the minor things that we did yesterday were successful, and I think it'll be successful on the House floor.
Yeah. Last night, California Governor Gavin Newsom was pointing the finger at President Trump. Of course, they just have absolute chaos in Los Angeles. The governor said that President Trump chose theatrics over public safety in deploying the National Guard. What's your take on what's happening out there?
Joey, we're a nation of laws. When you see cars being burned, when you see buildings being broken into, looted, when you see police officers getting fireworks thrown at them, bricks, this is an orchestrated event. And for an elected official to say what he said, is just, he's taking the side of the criminals. And Gavin Newsom ought to pay a political price on that. It's going to take the people of California doing it. But, I've never heard somebody so blatant who is fanning the flames of lawlessness, and to say that it's going to spread to other cities. Why doesn't he say, we're going to protect our law enforcement, we're going to protect our business owners? He's taking the side of criminals, and it's a sad day in this country when he does that.
Yeah, we've seen that this Abraco Garcia, or whatever his name is, who was sent to El Salvador, was in prison down there after he was rounded up with a number of others. He's back on U.S. soil now. The Democrats are applauding this as victory, that he's back in the United States. Of course, it appears that he's probably going to be headed back at some point. The Trump administration admitted that maybe there was a mistake made there in sending in deporting him initially, that there's part of a process there that needed to be taken care of. We saw body cam video of him in Tennessee just this week, had a car full of people. Obviously, he was in some type of human trafficking. What eventually is going to happen to him, do you think? And why would the Democrats want him back in our United States?
The Democrats have lost their way. The Democrats are now the Democrats of lawlessness, and they side with the criminal. Where's the empathy for the victims? Yeah. Do we have to have more and more Lake and Rileys multiplied across this country? No. But they wonder why their approval ratings are so low. They're just wrong on not protecting Americans and protecting criminals. He's a known gang member, and what needs to happen is he needs to be out of the country, in jail, into his home country. But they continue to side with criminals and with those who are doing wrong to Americans. Where is the empathy that the Democratic Party has? They have no empathy. They are trying to figure out why they have lost their way. But the American people have got a front row seat now to what they are choosing, which is lawlessness. And if it spreads to the other cities, Donald Trump is going to deal with it because he's got the courage, and it's the right thing to do.
Representative Ralph Norman is with me today. Congressman, your colleague from South Carolina, Representative James Clyburn, has introduced a bill. He's introduced this in the past. In his words, it will close the loophole that allowed Dylan Roof to purchase the gun that allowed him to kill those innocent folks in Mother Emanuel, coming up on the 10th year anniversary. The bill will give the FBI 20 days for a background check. He's tried this before, as mentioned. Does the bill go anywhere this time?
No, it will not go anywhere. The left, the Democrats have always wanted to take our guns, our Second Amendment rights. Criminals don't go by the law. Criminals are going to get guns, and to put that kind of restriction on, it will not pass. The Republicans will be unified with this. Now, as always, the Democrats will probably vote in bloc, basically to take weapons away from law-abiding Americans, or make it so difficult from a time standpoint to get a gun. no, it shouldn't go anywhere. And he can put it up all he wants, but I think it'll fail again, as it should.
Yeah. One final question for you, Representative Norman, before I let you go today. You mentioned earlier the EV tax credits in the big, beautiful bill. What is going on between Elon Musk and President Trump?
You know, Elon Musk, and I've told all the media outlets that I've interviewed with, is a great American. He's a phenom. What he's done for this country is no one else could do. He's right on the spending. Was it enough? I would love to see 5 to 10 trillion out, but they'll get back together. He's a true American. He's a true patriot. And he can say what he wants. I think he's frustrated with the slowness of the wheels of government. So am I, and so am others. But he's done such a great thing. And Donald Trump and he I think, will get back together at some point.
Congressman, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
President Donald Trump appeared in a brand new podcast yesterday, and he said in the interview that he is open to reconciling with Elon Musk over their falling out due to Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. The interview was with Miranda Devine. It's her new podcast called Pod Force One. And the president said that he was disappointed in Musk, but said things like this happened, and that he's open to mending fences. Here's an excerpt.
Country, and that's phase one. That I have no hard feelings. You know,
You can do to forgive him. Could you see that happening?
Well, I have no hard feelings. You know.
And what happened with Elon? Is there anything that you can do to forgive him? Could you see that happening?
Well, I have no hard feelings. You know, I was really surprised that happened. He went after a bill that's phenomenal. It's the best thing we've ever signed in this country, and that's phase one. Phase two, phase three. All of a sudden, it all comes together. It's coming together so well. And when he did that, I was not a happy camper. So it's too bad.
You said he had problems. What kind of problems? I mean, is it the drugs?
I don't know what his problem is, really. I don't know. I haven't thought too much about him in the last little while, but the bill is so good. When he went after the bill, this bill is going to turn around this country so fast your head will spin. It's good for everyone. It's also a tax cut. It's a massive tax cut. It's an extension of debt, which we need. We have to get that. And then we're going to start paying off debt at record levels. It's tariffs on certain people. It's, by the way, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. You know,
all your promises.
Yeah. And I mean, it's no tax on overtime. If a worker works overtime, there's no tax. That's going to be a great stimulant for the country. No, I think your bill is great, and
he just didn't get that.
He feels very badly that he said that, actually.
And maybe it was something else. I mean, he had the fight with Scott Besson outside your office.
Yeah, well, they had not a fist fight, people, but I guess they had a little bit of a shouting match. But that's
Did you hear it?
That's typical. I heard it a little bit. That's sort of typical about, that happens.
You were very kind to him. I saw you together, and I think he treated you a bit like a father. And
I was disappointed. In him, but it is what it is. That happens. Things like that happen. I don't blame him for anything. That I was a little disappointed.
Could you reconcile?
Say it?
Could you reconcile with him? Do you think? Could you forgive him?
I guess I could, but we have to straighten out the country.
Yeah.
And my sole function now is getting this country back to a level higher than it's ever been.
Again, that's President Trump on the debut episode of Pod Force One with Miranda Devine. The podcast is going to be a weekly podcast. As I understand it, she'll be interviewing very high-profile leaders. And boy, what a way to kick off a podcast, huh? The relationship, of course, between Musk and Trump is kind of odd. I got to say, when they started whirling insults back and forth on X, I'm thinking, what are they doing? According to some of the posts and what we've been able to read, the relationship between the two began souring after Mr. Musk called out Trump's bill in a June 3rd post on X, saying, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination." Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Now, the two then traded fierce social media barbs. I mean, honestly, it was kind of like some teenage boys in a feud over a girl. With Musk even saying Trump was in the so-called Jeffrey Epstein files. The bill, of course, had been projected by the Congressional Budget Office to add trillions to the country's rising $36.2 trillion national debt. Trump's spending bill meant to extend his 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as well as provide new funding for the border and defense, passed the House on May 22nd. It's currently in the Senate. We've been watching it closely. You heard the president talk about it some just a moment ago with when he was being interviewed by Ms. Devine. So Musk has appeared, though, to soften his tone in recent days, saying in an X post just yesterday, "I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. They went too far." Yes, sir, I think they did go too far. President Trump told Ms. Devine, you heard him saying, "I haven't thought too much about him in the last little while," because he's kind of busy, you know. Later yesterday, President Trump told the New York Post that it was very nice that Musk had issued what is considered a apology, I guess. Now, as you heard a little earlier in the show, South Carolina Representative Ralph Norman believes that President Trump and Mr. Musk will, quote, get back together.
You know, Elon Musk, and I've told all the media outlets that I've interviewed with, is a great American. He's a phenom. What he's done for this country is no one else could do. He's right on the spending. Was it enough? I would love to see 5 to 10 trillion out, but they'll get back together. He's a true American. He's a true patriot. He can say what he wants. I think he's frustrated with the slowness of the wheels of government. So am I, and so am others. But he's done such a great thing. And Donald Trump and he, I think, will get back together at some point.
There you have it. Representative Ralph Norman telling us he thinks that they're going to patch it up. They'll be good. And look, I hope they do. They accomplished way too much together in the first 100 days or so. Well, 130 days. That was Musk's tenure. And they both have so much to offer working together. So I hope they do patch it up. Republican governors in South Carolina, Texas, Utah are warning against violence ahead of nationwide protests by the group of known as No Kings, which are being held in opposition to the military parade in Washington, D.C. on Saturday to honor the U.S. Army's 250th birthday. Now, it's also going to be President Trump's 79th birthday, as well as Flag Day. The warnings come as daily riots, of course, in Los Angeles have erupted since last Friday, following the Immigration Customs Enforcement operations to arrest illegal aliens, many with criminal records. And this group is planning these protests all around the country. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster said that that he would put his state on an elevated sense of alert if it's necessary. His comments came hours after Republican Attorney General of South Carolina Alan Wilson said his office is aware of potential coordinated protests and acts of civil disobedience planned for Saturday, adding that protesters who attack law enforcement, destroy property, or endanger lives will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. In other words, don't take your protest on the streets of Columbia, South Carolina, or Greenville, South Carolina, or Spartanburg, or Charleston, and think you're going to get away with what they are doing in Los Angeles. Not going to happen here. McMaster said, if people want to protest and want to voice their opinion, that's fine. But when you start destroying property, scaring people, hurting people, that's when law enforcement swings into action. I would urge people who want to cause trouble in our state to think twice, because this is not the place to cause trouble. You will be held accountable. Texas Governor Greg Abbott also announced he will deploy the Texas National Guard across the state to quell any possible violence. Utah Governor Spencer Cox told protesters, just a word of warning to anybody who is thinking about any type of violence or chaos or property damage or vandalism. It will not happen here, and you will be held accountable. We are going to be overprepared. No Kings says Saturday is a nationwide day of defiance, during which Americans can stand up to, quote, reject authoritarianism and reclaim patriotism in the name of democracy. The flag doesn't belong to President Trump. It belongs to us, the group said on its website. Matt McCool, special agent in charge of the Secret Service, reportedly said that law enforcement agencies are preparing for hundreds of thousands of people to attend Saturday's military parade. President Trump warned that protesters at the parade will be met with a very big force. No Kings also said on its website that a core principle behind its protest is a commitment to nonviolent action, saying we expect all participants to seek to de-escalate any potential confrontation with those who disagree with our values and to act lawfully at these events. Weapons of any kind, including those legally permitted, should not be brought to the event. And let's hope that they heed that advice. Other cities all around the country issuing the same warning. Look, the problem with this is you have these groups, and maybe No Kings doesn't plan any violence, but you have these groups who get the permits for local protest. They do their protests, they leave, and some of the hoodlums hang back, and they're the ones who end up causing the problems. They're the ones who wreak havoc on local law enforcement. I heard Greenville County Sheriff Hobart Lewis in my area say, hey, not going to happen on my watch. You start trouble in Greenville, you're going to find yourself in the detention center. Sheriff Lewis was quoted as saying that he didn't mind filling up the detention center if that's what it took. Meanwhile, Senator Josh Hawley has initiated an inquiry into whether the Los Angeles protests were funded by a nonprofit group. In the post, Hawley said, who is funding the L.A. riots? This violence isn't spontaneous. As chairman of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Terrorism, I'm launching an investigation to find out. Hawley wrote to Angelica Salas, executive director of Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights of Los Angeles, requesting information on the organization's alleged role in funding the violence. Look, revoke their nonprofit status. Make them pay taxes on all the money that they raise. That'll quiet them down. That'll shut them up. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. A man who is set to be executed tomorrow in South Carolina is asking for a delay. We have that story in just a minute. First, the town of Central South Carolina, home of Senator Lindsey Graham, is facing legal action alleging repeated violations of South Carolina's Freedom of Information Act and agreeing on contracts outside of scheduled public meetings. In the lawsuit filed June 6, town resident Jack Queener claims that the town held multiple closed-door meetings without legally required justification. They authorized a contract for a planning consultant, he says, and discussed a tax increment finance program in private, a topic the public had a right to hear about ahead of the program's approval back in February. The suit names the Pickens County town, its administrator, Philip Misho, the council, and two specific elected officials by name, Mayor Andrew Beckner and Councilwoman Paige Bowers. As of June 10th, the defendants haven't answered the suit, according to online records. Defendants held illegal executive sessions, according to the suit, that did not follow proper procedure for holding executive sessions, entered into an unauthorized contract, failed to publish meeting minutes, published inadequate minutes, refused to publish a summary of public comments, and on at least one occasion added an item to the agenda without proper notice or emergency circumstances, again, according to the lawsuit. Central Town Council went into executive session on multiple occasions without sufficient reason. The suit claims that citing terms like legal matter and contractual matters. Those descriptions are too vague under FOIA law, the suit alleges. Now, here's what happens. This is not unusual for these small towns. You get people on these small city councils. They don't have a lot of experience on these type things. Some of them don't even know Robert's Rules of Order. They don't know procedures like this. They don't realize that you can't just go into executive session because you don't want people hearing what you're saying. But they use executive session a lot. A lot of these small towns do. A lot of governing bodies do. They abuse it. A lot of HOAs use executive session. Executive session is very simple. It is a tool that, when properly used, can allow bodies like this, city councils, HOA governing boards, school boards, county councils, when they are discussing, say, HR matters, things that do require or should not be public. But you have to announce before you go into executive session a general idea of what you're doing. You can't vote in executive session. And when you come out of executive session, you have to make a statement on what you're going to do, what action you're going to take going forward. These cities and all, they don't understand that. They abuse it. They use it when they just simply don't want people to know what they're talking about. Mr. Queener also claims that the council approved a contract for an independent planning consultant after getting approval for the contract over the phone. The suit alleges the appropriation of funding via this contract is without authorization and violates FOIA requirements for a public body to commit itself to a course of action. The council frequently does not record or publish minutes of its meeting, according to the suit, which is a big no-no. The lawsuit lists multiple work sessions and special call meetings in 2024 and in early 2025 where minutes were not recorded or published. The suit says the minutes are so inadequate that a member of the public is not able to review and understand what is taking place at the meetings. Minutes of meetings had not been published online past March 10th, 2025, the suit said, though 2 additional documents from April were online as of June 9th. The lawsuit requests a judge to review the council's actions and deem them illegal, publish the content of the illegal meetings, and nullify the contract that was approved for the consultant. We'll see. If you're on city council, if you're on one of these small boards or commissions, you have to be careful because it's still the public's business. Executive session is not a way for you to hold your secret meetings. All right, so a man who is set to be executed tomorrow is wanting that to be delayed. According to the United States District Court documents, attorneys representing death row inmate Stephen Stanko said the South Carolina Department of Corrections cannot put him to death on Friday due to what they call botched executions. Here's the story. Stanko's attorney, Charles Gross of the Gross Law Firm based in Greenwood, South Carolina, argued on June 7th that execution should be paused until the Department of Corrections investigates and changes how inmates are executed. Stephen Stanko's execution, again, scheduled Friday, June 13th, tomorrow. A jury found Stanko guilty in 2005 of murdering his 43-year-old girlfriend, Laura Ling of Murrells Inlet, and 74-year-old Henry Turner of Conway. On May 30th, Stanko elected lethal injection as his method of execution. You get to do that. That's your option. As a death row inmate, you choose how you're going to be put to death. Right now, South Carolina has 3 options for you. Lethal injection, Old Sparky, the electric chair, or by firing squad, which we've had. That's a new option, and we've had 2 choose that since it was put into place. The document cited how the last 3 men put to death by lethal injection remained alive for more than 20 minutes after receiving the dose of pentobarbital. The document also mentioned Mikhail Maldi, the previous man executed by firing squad. Maldi's attorney said the firing squad assigned to carry out the execution on April the 11th missed McCall's heart. Now, this has been litigated over and over for years now. I mean, we just started having executions recently because of legal delays for years. For many years, we could not get the drugs needed for lethal injection. And that's what all the inmates were choosing, lethal injection, because they knew the state wasn't using it because they couldn't get the drugs. The legislature changed the law, and now if one is not a valid option, then you have to choose one of the other two. You can't use the excuse of not being able to get the lethal injection because of no drugs. You're forced to choose the electric chair or firing squad now if the lethal injection is not available. Gross said that having to choose between the methods limits his client Stanko's rights. In his document, he said, forcing a choice between the defendant's two unconstitutionally performed execution methods, his rights will silently be extinguished. Again, this has been litigated and litigated. He also said that this choice cannot guarantee that the elected execution method will not violate the cruel and unusual punishment clause. Yes, well, that's been litigated as well. Gross used previous executions as examples of how lethal injection and the firing squad could both be cruel and unusual punishment. The last firing squad received headlines because the person did not die immediately. It was like 15 seconds. Witnesses claimed that they heard him making noises and did not die immediately. The autopsy evidently showed that they missed his heart by just centimeters. The state's legal counsel released a response June 9th stating that since Stanko elected lethal injection and didn't make any objections prior, it makes his current stay request invalid. Thomas Limehouse Jr. is the chief legal counsel for the state. He said if Stanko wanted to bring a challenge like this one, he had to do so before his election. State's legal counsel followed up their statement by stating how Gross never brought any alternatives that wouldn't be cruel or unusual when conducting an execution. I don't think this is going to work. Don't think he's going to get a delay. Look, I get it. It'd be tough to have to choose how you're going to die. But Mr. Stanko should have thought about that before murdering his 43-year-old girlfriend and murdering 74-year-old Henry Turner that fateful evening. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.